Welcome to the Women of the Future interview series. This project is aimed at showcasing and celebrating the top female changemakers in Web3 and the metaverse, using emerging technologies as a force for good in the real world. This is a project by women empowering women, and we're so honored today to have here 𝗺𝗵𝗵𝗴𝗺, Chief Metaverse Officer at 𝗃扠_this, Web3 strategist and advisor, startup coach, and host of NFT Talks podcast. Welcome, 𝗺𝗵𝗵𝗴𝗺. It's such a pleasure to have you here. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Elizabeth. It's an honor to be part of this project. And so a little bit about me. My background is in innovation and business development. I usually enter the picture if there is a need for new business creation or need for speed or developing strategic partnership programs. So that's when I usually enter the picture. And as you mentioned in this great introduction, I also work a lot with startups. Whenever possible, I always say yes and create time and space to involve in accelerator programs, to coach and support great minds and entrepreneurs who is out there creating impactful businesses. So this is something that I enjoy doing. And but I have to, of course, believe in the project and the founder. And then I usually jump on board to be either a board member or strategic advisor. And I always say, if there's a founder without a mission, it's just a nice person. So I really have to believe in the project. In a nutshell, I've always worked within tech and innovation almost my entire career, and work with global brands like Pernod Ricard and telco companies, so on and so forth. But currently now I'm working within the Web3 space. I don't know if you want me to talk more about.
What an incredible background. I think I always like to ask, what led you to Web3? Because I think everyone's story is so quite unique. And most of the time, everyone expects to be, this grand, I've been around in this Web3 for a while, since the first inception of the first NFT. And in reality, sometimes no. It was this kind of serendipitous journey to Web3. So I would love to hear, and I'm sure everyone would love to hear your journey into Web3.
Yeah, sure. So I've always been interested in crypto for many years, but as a builder, it didn't personally become interesting to me until NFTs hit the art market, because I've always had this passion for art. And that's actually when I got in touch with Sotheby's Institute. I actually mentioned them, hey, I have this background within innovation and tech, and I have this knowledge within art as well, both as a collector and an NFT or crypto enthusiast. So let me run your art and innovation sessions. And that's how I start to hosting great sessions with great experts from the Web3 space. And then that's where I learned about, projects like CryptoPunks, Bored Apes, many other projects, and witnessed the changing dynamics in industries other than art as well during those sessions. So that's when I got more familiar with this space. And then I jumped basically headfirst into the crypto pool and start to advise and support many brands and individuals trying to get into the Web3 space. I also enjoyed collecting and investing in different projects as an individual investor. But now, given the market situation, I'm obviously licking my wounds like many other NFT collectors. So, yeah, that's.
I think we're all a little stressing out a little bit during this bear market. But I think more than ever, we're starting to see new projects surface that have a little bit more intentionality and a little bit more purpose driven and are trying to solve problems. Whereas in the beginning, I think the projects were just, it was a new concept and everything was coming up, and it was about the hype of not missing out on this first time kind of opportunity to be a part of projects that were in a new light, right? They were just a new technology. It was a new way of thinking of collecting, right? Anyone could be a collector. I think that was the original thought process behind it. Based on your background, I would love to know what you've seen, like Web3 and the metaverse, like how much it has evolved. Like you've been probably around some conversations and you saw crypto from earlier days to where it is today. Like what have you seen? Like, and what's the hope that we can see in the future to hold us through and hold us down during this bear market?
Yeah. Speaking of bear market, I mean, we had also a great session with, in one of my sessions with 𝗵𝗵𝗺𝗶𝗴𝗆, and who is who is leading this great VC firm called Outlier Ventures. And we've discussed a lot, for the founders, out there, Web3 founders, how they can ride out this volatility, this bear market, and what are some tips. So it could be an interesting session to listen in. Also, despite the fears of the crypto winter, we need to also remember VC firms, they are still pouring money into Web3. So the situation is not that pessimistic, I must say. And we saw big tech companies adoption. Obviously, many brands are dipping their toes with metaverse, aspirations, while, some have decided to tiptoe around tiptoe their way into the space. Some jumped right in, like Nike's acquisition with Artifact. And I was reading the other day about Starbucks, their new loyalty program, blockchain-based loyalty program. So there's still a lot of activities going on, and but you're right. Now we're generally, you mentioned the long hyped market, and now we're generally experiencing a correction, and it's only natural after long hype cycles, as you mentioned. But even in the midst of volatility, as I mentioned, we see many enterprises continue to build their businesses in Web3, from real estate to automotive to banks. And I'm taking conversations with from production companies to banks to startups right now, and helping different brands with their NFT and metaverse projects. And conversations have also changed once the hype died down a little, because in the beginning I realized the questions were mainly around, okay, help us with launch some NFT collectibles or digital collectibles that we're going to tokenize, or help us put our brand in the metaverse on Decentraland or Spatial. But now the conversations are more, okay, this is our brand, this is our why, this is our brand heritage. So, and we would like to create a new business, or we would like to attract new customer groups, or we see it as a great PR buzz. So how can we simply use this as a marketing trick to rejuvenate our brand? So the conversations have changed a little once the hype died down a little, comparing with last year. And you mentioned the other, what are some ways we're experiencing an evolvement or change? Obviously, mass adoption is not there yet, but there's much more widespread awareness. But I can say we still have long way to go when it comes to providing seamless user experiences, and better experiences will unlock more accessibility, and this will eventually attract and keep new users, of course. I guess we can talk more about this topic, but
I love this. We could dive deep into all of this. No, we're flowing here. This is wonderful. And I'm trying to unpack some of all of the things that you said. I agree with you 100% that this bear market needed to happen, right? Like we needed to weed out, phase one, and we're almost like in this phase two, which continues to evolve, right? Which is we're a more purpose-driven projects. Like now we're asking the right questions versus jumping head first. So it's beautiful to see the brands that are succeeding, and how are they succeeding differently than the ones maybe that jumped in too quick.
That was an interesting session, by the way, to have a session around like comparing different brands and strategies and assessing, what went right and wrong, and what are some tips, for the retailers, for the brands in automotive, for bank and healthcare. So maybe it's another session that we can host together.
We'll have to set it up. We have to set it up. I think it would be great to just also analyze, and I think that information is invaluable just for like these larger industries and organizations, but even for the small builders who are entering the space even out of like a little bit of fear, right? Because there's a little bit of fear in this moment. It's harder for smaller businesses to kind of rise up and startups to come in this time. But those that are building, those that are sticking around are really trying to figure out how to make this a long-lasting relationship, right? How to create a long-lasting strategy in Web3, regardless of the noise and what the present, I would say, what the media observes. And so like one of the things that you said, you were talking about kind of barriers to mass adoption. And so I'm curious, like, we are still in the early days. I try to constantly remind people, there's 7 billion people in the world, 7 to 8, right? 7 billion in the world, half of which, are women, and then the other half, which are men. Like, for example, Meta cannot service all those 7 million people with their one strategy, right? And so there's plenty of opportunities for startup, but what do you think are the biggest barriers for mass adoption to happen, as it stands today, and then maybe in the next, 2 years, because 2 years is like maybe 5 years in the Web3 world? What are some challenges, some concerns, but then some tips that you could recommend to stay positive and look forward?
Yeah, but as you said, we're still in the early days of Web3, and there's so much innovation is yet to happen. And I don't know, where exactly we will be in 2 years, as you said, or 5 years. But I'm sure, blockchain-based applications will creep into everything in our life, including our work life, including our social life, the way we consume services, the way we interact with each other. Next time we're having this meeting on Metaverse, it could be completely different experience for us. So there's definitely this great social innovation aspect as well, which I would love to talk more about in another session maybe. So, but I think before we talk about opportunities, I believe it's also important to understand the main concepts arise with this new iteration of web. And because many opportunities we see in businesses, education, entertainment, healthcare, and in many areas will evolve around these concepts. And to me, I can say this new iteration of web really embodies 3 main concepts, and those are decentralization and power shift. Because today the dilemma is that there are a handful of these centralized entities and large tech companies really monopolizing the current web and deciding what should or should not be allowed. And whereas Web3 is embracing more decentralization, meaning it is built, operated, and owned by its own users. So the power is really in the hands of individuals, and we will see many businesses arise, many new roles and forms will arise based on this concept. And from an art world's perspective, if I'm to give an example, it's in the hand of the artists and creators, right? The power. So, and not really the intermediary parties. So that's an important concept to understand. And the second concept is, of course, it being permissionless, meaning everyone has an equal access. And that's also going to lead a lot of innovation around this concept within different areas and businesses. And the third one is, of course, it has its native payments, meaning instead of relying on outdated bank infrastructures and payment processors, we use cryptocurrencies. So these are, to me, I think, important concepts to understand before we discuss opportunities to come. And when we look at the opportunities, I see there will be a big shift, move to mobile devices, because right now, to a great extent, we run our lives on our mobile devices, right? From messaging to social networks, ride-hailing app to booking services. We're definitely a mobile first generation, but most of the Web3 experience is still limited to being fully explored on a desktop. So there's a huge need and opportunity to move Web3 to mobile with more user-centric perspective. And you mentioned 2 years or 5 years, I don't know. I think mobile will still mostly, when we mean mobile, it's going to be our mobile phones, but we see the emergence of course, other devices integral to our lives. And I believe social apps will definitely be the major attraction points. And we see many users transitioning to this space, as we see more Web3 platforms creating great and engaging user experiences in mobile.
I love this. And what I'm hearing you say is like, yeah, well, I'm hearing you say there's one of the barriers 100% is making sure that we have the right education, right? So being informed, like you said, on these the core topics and being clear on that so that we can move forward. And so, we are on this interview series because it's about women of the future. And congratulations, by the way, on being one of the top 100 women selected to be on this project. And it is about women. And so I wanted to kind of touch the point of diversity and inclusivity. And I'm curious, education as a barrier is something that is important for women to have, not just have confidence, but to be informed and to have the right information that they need so that they can move forward in their projects. How can women achieve true gender equity in the crypto and Web3 space from your perspective?
This is a great question, Elizabeth, and this is something very close to my heart. I worked with a lot of, women leaders, founders, pro bono also in my earlier career because I really wanted to help. And to be honest, the reason is no one really helped me. I'm also immersed in innovation and tech, and it's really, we really experience a bro culture in this space and not just in crypto. So there are a lot of, elbow situation when you're trying to build your career. So this is something very important for me to pay back and to help out. And that could really be my legacy. And aim is to hope, to pave a path for many women being part of this space, taking the lead and taking leading roles in emerging technologies through initiatives like Mission Impact. So I'm very, very honored to be part of the Mission Impact team as well and be part of that initiative, which is aiming to empower more women jumping into this space with the educational sessions that they are creating, with all these networking opportunities that they are creating. So I'm all, 100% supportive when it comes to initiative as such.
That's a beautiful message. And thank you so much for all that kind of support and time that you dedicate. We need more heroes like you around to help uplift us and guide us throughout the way. And so, what message would you leave behind to these women who are opening this book for the first time and they're realizing, oh my God, there's 100 women out there already doing this and probably more, and I could be one of them?
I mean, I can definitely say continue to be persistent and continue to do what you believe in. And you shouldn't let anyone to stop you to do whatever you believe in. So I think it is really important to be persistent, to have bravado, to have the courage to push the boundaries, and most of the time to self-invite yourself to certain occasions and opportunities, because no one will give you the opportunity most of the time on a silver plate, because there were not many initiatives like Mission Impact in the past. So I'm that's why I'm really grateful and very supportive when it comes to initiatives as such, because they are actually opening so many doors for so many women out there. So it's not going to be only an individual effort from my side, from your side, and from other leaders' side who believe in what we believe in. So definitely continue to be persistent, push the boundaries, and it's you will get what you deserve, definitely, in the end.
Thank you, 𝗀𝗺. Again, congratulations on being selected for the top 100 Women of the Future book series. And I look forward to staying connected. How can we find you? How can others get inspired and follow your journey?
Well, you can definitely reach out to me on LinkedIn. DM me if there's projects you want me to take a look at, or if you're creating something that is meaningful and impactful, I would love to be part of when it comes to the launch or scale phase. So I'm those who know me knows that I'm quite open, easy to connect with. So you can definitely reach out to me through LinkedIn.
Wonderful, Guy. Thank you so much again for your time. It's been a pleasure to have you.